Hey kiddos, Mrs. Weaver here. Today we are going to do chapter 4 in Washed Up. So we've already done chapter 1, 2, and both parts of chapter 3. Chapter 4 is a little shorter, so I shouldn't have to do it in two parts, fingers crossed. So what we are going to do first up, get your sheet of notebook paper. If you don't have your Cornell notes, write these down so you can get ready. All right, the first question we have, number 1, how do the children from the three different families manage to meet up together? How does that happen? Make sure you have text evidence. Number 2, how does the problem or conflict begin to change in chapter 4? So we know what the conflict was early on. I believe it was an environmental conflict, environmental problems. So how is it changing now in chapter 4? Number 3, what is the benefit of having pictures on the pages along with the text? So as we're looking, I'm really good, I feel like, at showing you the pictures on the page. But why is that important? Why does it matter if I have pictures to go along with my text? How does that help you as a reader? So make sure you explain that. Everyone's answers should be different because you're going to have a different opinion on each picture. Number 4, the competitors or families begin to work together in chapter 4. How or why do you think they do that? Again, this is an opinion question, so your answer is probably going to be different than everyone else's, or it should be because you should be working independently on this. So go ahead, pause your screen if you need to, so you can write these down and get ready for me to read the chapter to you. At the end, you're also going to have the summary piece, just like we do with every other chapter. 5 to 8 sentences, big events that happened. This is a shorter chapter, so you can have a little bit of predictions on how you think the story is going to change, or you could have information on what happened in a previous chapter and how it impacts what's happening in this chapter. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our text. All right, chapter 4. It seems that a few of our players have decided to put their heads together and work this out in a civilized way. Even if they are in the jungle, Berry Blue's hand flew to her mouth. But oops, we can't talk about that. It's top secret after all. It was probably a foolish thought, coming this late, but as Shen hurtled down the zip line at more than 30 miles per hour, he wondered how this was going to end. He tried to touch the cable with his hand, but the friction scorched his skin. When would he slow down enough to stop? Would he have to jump? Meanwhile, Gabriella was jumping to conclusions. "You're a cheat," she told Oliver. "Trying to steal things from our side of the fence?" Oliver flushed. "I'm only looking for water and a container of some sort." He leveled his gaze at the battered pan in Gabriella's hand as her fingers tightened around it and said, "And matches?" Do we remember why Oliver is looking for matches? I think I do. Gabriella shook her head in disbelief. "Isn't there anything you rich types have figured out on your own?" That's when Oliver strode out of the underbrush and grabbed Gabriella by her wrist. "If we can figure out everything on our own, do you think they'd have cut a neat little rectangle in this fence? It's just large enough for one person to slip through," he shouted angrily. So there you see Oliver and Gabriella not having a friendly conversation. Drawing closer to the opening, Gabriella frowned. It did look like it had been cut precisely, not gnawed by animals or worn out by time, but she hung back. "Why would I help you to win?" she said. Oliver told her about Mrs. Walpole had spilled her shampoo in a freshwater pool. That took them days to find, and how Mr. Walpole had scared off a wild hog, snuffling for water. If he'd stayed quiet, the hog would have led us to dried riverbed or a stream, I'm sure. Gabriella giggled. Two parents, twice the trouble. Oliver's mouth twitched. Before he could chuckle, there was a loud buzzing sound. Bees? And a high pitched screech that sounded nothing like any jungle animal. Yeah! Gabriella ducked, and a pair of flying shoes and dangling legs scuffed the top of Oliver's head. Ah! A boy shot past them as if on wings and landed with a full thud against a tree trunk. And there we see him flying down the zip line. And there's an interactive feature, so let's see what this does. And it's going to show us what it's like for people as they go on a zip line. So that is what it's like to experience the zip line. Have you ever been on a zip line? I have not. When we were in school, we had a land lab. We would go on a little zip line with a wire, but we never got to go that fast. All right. You made quite an entrance, exclaimed Gabriella, after she and Oliver had followed the zip line to where it came to a stop. I took the scenic route, Shin grinned, relieved to discover the zip line had been fitted with a braking system. He wiggled out of his harness. His legs felt like jelly. Oliver's face lit up. By any chance, did you see a river on your way down? They each introduced themselves, and Oliver expanded on his parents' mistakes, while Gabriella and Shin talked about their family's need for basic supplies. After they had all explained their positions, Shin gave Oliver a flask of water from his backpack and some solid advice. Walk north and you'll hit the river. Use the sun to guide you. Gabriella and Shin then pulled a few matchsticks for Oliver. Gabriella gave Shin plenty of coconut husks to build a fire with, and in return, Shin gave Gabriella a mosquito net to keep off the sandflies. This is all the fruit I'm left with, said Oliver, sharing it with his two newfound friends. At that point, Gabriella's face softened. Take this old pan. It's no use for me anyways, and keep your fruit. We can always eat more coconuts. Looks like they can't do it alone, sang Berry Blue in a flamingo pink caftan now. And here her mouth twisted as her face filled the screen. Maybe someone needs to tell these people that competitors can't be friends. There's only one prize, after all. And we have another interactive feature. This is just an activity where you can draw. You don't need to do this. So, what would you bring to a deserted island? Draw it. So, if you would like, on the back of your sheet, draw a picture of what you would bring to a deserted island. I know for myself, I'd have to bring a book. I love to read, and I can't imagine being stuck on an island with no book and nothing to do. All right, kiddos. So, I'm going to bring back up your Cornell Note questions for chapter 4. Pause this if you haven't written it down already. Answer your Cornell Note questions. If you have any questions, you can leave it as a comment at the YouTube link at the bottom. I'll try and answer it as I can. I'm not a YouTube master here, guys. If you have any questions, ask your teacher. Like I said, leave a comment. I hope you guys have a great day. Go Tigers!